All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this webinar, Unlock the Secrets of Time Tracking. Today, we will show you how Tempo reports can help you understand your business better and bill your customers. And with that, let's get started. My name is Olu Christiansdottir, and I'm the marketing director here at Tempo. I've been with Tempo for 4 years now, and I lead the marketing team. And presenting with me here today is Eygló Óskarsdóttir. And maybe Eygló, if you want to start by introducing yourself.
Yes, I think you confused me with Eygló, my sister, but I'm Þórunn Óskarsdóttir, and I'm working as an architect at Tempo.
I'm really sorry, Þórunn. My last webinar was with Eygló, so I'm really sorry. Apologies.
No problem. So Eygló is actually my colleague, so it's a very common thing that happened. So I work as a solution architect here at Tempo, and what I do is I consult our users on our Tempo apps. I answer the questions, look at the requirements, and we try to see if Tempo fits their use cases, basically.
Great, thank you, Þórunn. And just a quick look at the agenda today. We'll start with a short introduction about Tempo before we dive into the demo, and we will finish up with a session with Q&A at the end. And just a few words about Tempo. Many of you already know Tempo, and you've already experienced how our tools give you and your team what you need to efficiently manage both your time and tasks. Maybe also rely already heavily on our reporting, but want to see maybe a little added additions on how you can leverage that and some real metrics to help you make decisions and maybe start the conversation about true time productivity. And time may be relative, but your business objectives certainly aren't, meaning you have fixed goals, but a limited time to get them done. And Tempo not only allows you to track time, but it allows you to understand value and optimize it. But you don't just have to take our word for it. Here are some of the 20,000 customers, large and small, that currently benefit from using Tempo. But moving on to the real reason you are here, Tempo has an advanced reporting function that pulls on all the time tracking data you and your team members have logged and helps you make sense of all that data. With Tempo, you can track billable hours, whether that is to be able to support your invoicing to external customers or to bill other departments within your organization for your time. And there are actually two ways that you can track your billable time. You can either use Tempo accounts or you can use the billable features in Tempo, and Þórunn will show you that in more detail later on. Now, you can also track how much time a project took at the end of the project, or even during the project, you can see how much time you've spent on it. And this can be done across the organization, and you can filter or group in multiple ways to provide you with the insights you need to understand where your organization is investing their time. And if you pull in the estimated hours from Jira, you can tell whether your project is on track or not. And maybe you're spending too much time in meetings or too little time on your most valuable projects. And with time tracking data, you can discover opportunities for increased productivity within your company. But if you simply want to understand where teams are investing their time, you can filter by teams and explore that as well with Tempo Timesheets. Before I hand it over to Þórunn, we want to launch our poll. We want to know, are you currently tracking time with Tempo Timesheets? And we have a few options there for you. So hopefully if you will go ahead and launch that. And I think we can go ahead and close the poll and let's see the results. See how it should be exciting. All right, so good mix of answers. And Þórunn, what do you think of these results?
I think it's great to see that we have most of the attendees that are using our apps and would like to see more of what we can do. Also that we have a lot of interested evaluators, so that is great.
Yeah, it's great to see that there's some here that have been using Tempo for some time, and hopefully we will be able to show you some new cool tricks and how you can fully leverage reporting to help your business. Okay, cool. Then we'll go ahead and hide the results and continue with the presentation. Awesome, and thank you all for answering. And Thorun, can you let me know, can you see my slide deck?
Yes, I can see your slide.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
With that, I will actually hand it over to you, Thorun, and Thorun will show you a little bit more about accounts, billable features, and how to leverage our reports. And I can confirm, Thorun, that I can see your Jira screen.
Excellent, thank you so much. So hi everyone again. What I will be demoing today is one of these stories that we often show during a demo session. But for today, I'm going to be using my Jira server version. So it's on version 8.4.2, and I'm using the Tempo Timesheet version 10.17.3. And I understand that some of you might be using cloud, and I will mention if there are any differences between the server versions and the cloud versions of our app. So, but most of the things that I will be showing and demoing today is available on both hostings and of course a data center as well. So the story that I'm going to represent to you today is that I'm a project manager and I currently manage 2 projects in Jira. These projects have been created and are defined as Jira projects with Jira issues that are breaking down the work for these 2 projects. Now, for both of those projects, I need to be able to track billable hours for invoicing my customer. And for the first project, I have a clear definition of which issues are billable and which are not. For the second project, we have another scenario where we have need to define billable hours, but we don't have the issues clearly defined as billable or not. So we might work on the same issue, and the same issue represents both billable hours and non-billable time spent. So let me just show you what we're going to do for the first project, where we have issues defined as billable issues and issues as non-billable. And for that, I've created a project, Jira project. This is the cloud project here. We have multiple stories created and subtasks that define the work that I need to finish in order to finish this project. Now, what we're going to use for this project to track billable hours is Tempo accounts. And on this particular Jira issue, you can see a custom field called account. And this custom field becomes available to you once you install Tempo, any of our apps, Tempo apps, to your Jira instance. Because Tempo accounts is one of our core add-ons that comes for free when you install Tempo. So let me just take you through what Tempo accounts are, just to give you a little information. Tempo accounts allows you to track hours across projects. It adds an additional level of time tracking, so you can track hours under a certain category, for example, or under a certain type. If we take a look at the first account here in the list, this is actually the account that we will be using to track the billable hours for my project. We have an account that has a billable type. Tempo offers 4 different types, fixed types, and these types are capitalized, operational, internal, and billable. And each account is also can be associated to a category. And what category does, it groups multiple accounts together. So if you like to report on a specific category that you can define yourself, you can do that by creating what we call an account category. What Tempo Accounts also offers you is to create customers, so you can track customer hours. And what I actually need to do is that I need to associate this account to the customer that I would like to send my billable hours to. So I've created the Cloud Bay as my customer. So all hours that I track for this Tempo account can be reported on this customer information here. And I will show you that a little bit later. So diving into this particular Tempo account that I will be using to track billable hours for my project, you can see here that I have linked this account directly to the Jira project that I'm currently managing. When I click on this Jira project, I go back to the Jira issue that we were just looking at, and the account has already been associated to the Cloud Bay development billable account. So when you have linked your Jira project to your specific account that you want to use to track hours, you will be able to fill in the account custom field with the associated account. Once the account has been associated to the Jira issue, when I log my time against this issue with Tempo, the hours are rolling up to the issue and also to the account. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm tracking billable hours and non-billable hours for this project. So I have issues that are also defined as non-billable. So not all of the issues are defining as billable. And for that, I could either leave this account field as empty. So it does not have, some of the Jira issues might not have the account custom field filled, but I would like to clearly state or show in my reports with how many hours were internal cost or non-billable hours that I cannot invoice my customer. So what I've done is I created another Tempo account and associated that account to the project like we did before. And I used that Cloud Bay internal to associate to the non-billable task of my project. So I have now two accounts, one for internal cost or non-billable hours and one account for billable hours. And just to give you a quick overview of those two, the top one is the one that we went through already, but the second one here, Cloud Bay internal, has an internal account type and is associated to the category internal cost. Both of the accounts are associated to the same customer, so I can see clearly how much I spent for the customer. But now let's jump into the reports and see what we can report on using Tempo accounts for this particular project. Now we're in the Tempo reports overview, and I'm going to use the log time report. I filtered by the Jira project that I'm managing, which is the Paradigm Cloud, and I group by account. This will give me the breakdown of the accounts that I use for this project and the split of the hours for the billable hours and the internal hours. So here we have 133 hours logged for billable work and 171 for internal cost. This might show strange. Of course, you would like to have the billable hours higher than the internal cost. And if you want to look in closer, where is this? Where are my resources actually tracking their time, or where are they spending their time? You can look at this in a more granular level, pull in the issue information, see if what is happening, where are they spending their time, and then you can also pull in the user information if you want to take an even more closer look. What is nice about adding the account to a JIRA issue is that the user does not have to specifically define when tracking their time if their work was billable or not. The issue is already defined for them, so they don't really have to think about whether they are tracking billable hours or not. Makes it easier for them to track their time. But for the second use case, or for the second project, but where that's not so clearly defined, I'm going to show you how we can solve that. And that's not by using Tempo accounts. That's by using something called Tempo billed hours. So jumping from the first use case to the second use case now, we're going to look at Project X. Here we are not using Tempo accounts, the Tempo accounts custom field. We just have a simple software development project with that has already been broken down into bugs, stories, and subtasks. And here we are simply gonna ask the user to define whether the time spent on an issue was billable or not. Because in some cases, the same issue might have billable hours, and in some cases, you are spending time and on the same issue that is non-billable. For server and data center, this is a global configuration on if a user can set billable hours or not. But on Tempo for Cloud, this is a project permission. So that's a difference between the two hostings. So now I'm in the global configuration, and under the accountant configuration, I'm gonna allow users to define how many hours of the time spent were billable hours. I simply check that check mark. And now if I go back to the project, and I click on the log time button here, you can see that there's an additional field showing in the log time form called billable. So as Taylor is logging her work, the 8 hours that she has spent will automatically fill the billable field, but she can of course update that if the full time spent was not defined as full-time billable. Could be that she needed a 4-hour training before starting the work for the customer against this issue. So she can simply log this time. Oh, oops. That sometimes happens during a demo. We have a maximum hours per day for the user. So I'm just going to update that to unlimited. And let me go back to the project. So I'm just going to log work against another project actually. So here, 8 hours, let's say the 4 hours were billable, and I log the time. This is a brand new project, so we don't have a lot of time tracking hours logged against this, but I want to show you then how I display those billable hours and the time spent in the log time report. So we go here back to the reports overview and select the log time report. Now I don't care about the account, so I just want to group by the JIRA issue. I select or filter by the project, and I create a report. We are looking at August, this current month. Now you can see the time spent of the time spent that my resources have been tracking, but now I have to pull in another column that is called billable. So we have spent in total 16 hours on this project in the month of August, but only 8 hours were defined as billable. And I just want to mention here that it's really nice to use the billable hours if you're using, if you need to track billable hours against issues, but also define how many hours were non-billable. Then you can simply deduct the billable hours against the time spent. But if you are a Tempo budgets user as well, you can use the billable feature to calculate the revenue. And similar, you can do that with Cost Tracker on cloud. Use the billable feature to calculate revenue for the Cost Tracker projects. Now, these are the two billable use cases that I wanted to show you. You can use Tempo accounts to track different types of hours. Doesn't have to be just billable hours. It can also be CapEx, OpEx, or using a different category. What I also would like to mention is that you can use this list of options to display the report in different ways. For example, using the list view, you're able to pull in the remaining and the original estimates of your JIRA issues. Let me just clear out the project that we were just looking at and look at the more ways of how you can use the log time report. But here we have some more data. We have a lot of work logs across multiple projects. If we take a look at one of the JIRA issues that we have here, for example, here we have a JIRA issue that has an original estimate of 32 hours. We've already logged 20 hours and 12 are remaining. This can give us an overview that our issues are on track. And in some cases, of course, we run over the original estimates. We have logged more time than it is actually remaining, and we might want to take a closer look to that. One of the things that I forgot to mention in the beginning with the first use case is that we had the cloud project here, where we grouped by accounts. And if we go back to one of the 1 month back where we have more data. Now let's say that I want to, it's that time of the month where I need to send an invoice to the customer. But the customer is only interested in viewing the billed hours. So what you can do here is that you can use the category type filtering and select the billable category type, and this will only show you the billable hours tracked for the project, and then you can export this and attach it to the invoice that the customer will receive. And you can export the reports to a CSV and Excel and get the raw workload data, so you can provide the customer with full transparency if needed. I also mentioned in the beginning that you can filter by customer hours or a report on customer hours. And if I just clean out the filtering that I had here, you can pull in or filter by the customer. We were looking at CloudBay before, and this gives me all the accounts associated to the customer CloudBay and the hours tracked for those accounts. That's it for me. One of the things that maybe I want to share with you as well is that you can filter by these different attributes in the log time report. So if you want to see where your team is spending their time, you can filter by your Tempo team, play around with the grouping, and for example, see which projects they've been working on in the past month or in the current month. But yeah, I think it's time for questions. Olaf, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, super. Thank you so much, Thorun. There are obviously multiple ways that you can leverage the Tempo reports to get a little bit more insights into where your organization and your teams are spending their time. But we will open it up for questions, so please use the question pane on the GoToWebinar side panel to add your question, and we'll cover as many questions as we have time for. I'd also like to remind you that we do have a white paper available for you for download on the side panel, and you can download that at any time. Now, let's see, let's start with something good. So maybe this is an interesting one, Thoden. Where do people log their time? And I can start by sharing that my favorite way of logging time is to have, I integrate with Google Calendar. So all my calendar invites are actually added to my work in Tempo, and then I could easily turn meeting invites into logged time. But there are multiple other ways, right, Thoden, that you can log your time?
Yes, absolutely. You can use our mobile app, for example. So if you're on the go, you have already finished your work week and you closed your computer and don't want to open it until next week, you can go into the mobile app, submit your timesheet, log your time, and even manage other people's timesheets through there. And then we also have different views, the timesheet view and the calendar view. Calendar view is my personal favorite. It shows you the weekly overview of the time that you've already tracked, and it also integrates with Tempo Planner, so you can see your plans there and convert your plans into work logs. Then lastly, you can track time on the Jira issue itself. So there are, I think there are more than 10 ways that you can use Tempo to track your time. So it should fit most users' needs depending on where they like to track their time.
Exactly, and the multiple ways to be able to track your time should help with deploying Tempo. So if you're thinking, if you're new and you're thinking it might be a hassle to get people to track time, or if you want to expand it within your organization, you should really leverage that. There are so many ways. Everyone can find a way that suits them.
Yes,
Perfect.
exactly.
Thank you, Thorn. Question about accounts. How do I set up and use accounts?
I would say the golden rule is to understand what you need to track. So Tempo accounts is very flexible, and like you've seen, you have the ability to create your own categories and group data from different accounts together. So it really depends on understanding of what you need to track, and then we have some great documentation available on our help center portal to understand how you set them up and just the basic functionality of Tempo accounts. I hope that answered the question.
I'm sure it did. Here's a question. Is it possible to link Tempo accounts with a CRM or other data source? If not, can data be imported somehow?
Yes, through our public APIs. So we have a public API for specifically Tempo accounts, where you can both extract and import data to Tempo accounts.
Okay, super. And we do have some extensive API documentation that might be of help as well. Okay, let's see. How can you track what has already been invoiced? If you have some hints there.
Yeah, good question. So we do not provide a feature for invoicing. Let's say we track the data and help you set up or help you with the data that you need to put on invoicing. You can use what we call work attributes to mark work logs that have been invoiced, but I would say today there is the best way in Tempo Timesheets is simply closing the period. So once you close the period, the hours cannot be changed, and therefore you might understand then that these hours have been invoiced or not. But that's maybe a use case that I can take offline, and maybe you can reach out to us to further discuss your use case regarding invoicing.
Okay, super. Maybe to related to this one, how can I trust that the data that has been entered should be invoiced? So maybe can you tell us a little bit about the approval flow that we have in Tempo?
Absolutely. So we have a timesheet approval feature where the users are asked to submit their timesheet to their team lead or to a manager, and the manager reviews the timesheets and approves the timesheets if everything is looking correctly. This, however, does not filter or show up in Tempo timesheets as approved work logs or anything like that. It's simply asking or providing the team manager or the team lead an overview of all the timesheets that have been submitted. We have an account approval feature coming. We're currently implementing, and I guess that's a topic for later, but it's something that we're currently working on, this particular use case of providing more more information of if worklogs are ready to be approved and invoiced. So it's something that is currently in the pipeline.
Okay, perfect. So another one from the audience. For billing purposes, I have employees with different labor rates. How do I see a report like you showed with price data?
Great question. So on server, we have something called price tables. This is not available on cloud, but we have cost tracker to support this type of use case. So ideally, you would use either Tempo cost tracker or Tempo budgets to be able to see how much you've spent on a project or how much revenue you've tracked. But on server, we have something called price tables, and you can create a monthly report under accounts to view time and expenses for your resources, and you can set price rates against the specific roles. So you can see the breakdown of the hours spent.
Okay, great. Here's a question about how Jira and Tempo work together. Is it possible to link the customer from Jira to Tempo? Is this also by using an API?
This would be by API. There is no connection between a Jira customer and a Tempo customer. Yeah. So you would either have to use an API or create the customer manually in Tempo accounts.
Okay. More about reports. Can I save and share reports?
Yes, the former you can save the reports. Today, how you would share the reports is by copying the URLs and share it like that to another Jira user. You just have to make sure that the person or the other Jira user has the same permissions as you to view the data in the log time report. But this being able to share reports easily is a feature request that has been quite requested by our users, and I am aware that product is looking into it. And yeah, but again, you can save the reports so you don't have to create them every time you go into the report overview. So that is a good point.
Yes, and maybe to add on that one, we do have an idea portal available that you can find on our website, and we do encourage you to go there and see if there are any ideas that you would like to vote for, or if you would like to add your own idea as well. And we do have our product team really looks at that for inspiration.
Yes, absolutely. So we have an idea portal. And that's where you can post your ideas or feature requests if you see a gap in our apps. And you can also vote for others, so our product team can see if there's a big demand for a feature that we don't have. And I really know that this works because I've been talking to our users and they've been posting ideas there, and they are seeing the features or the improvements coming into our apps. So I highly recommend that you go to this portal. The URL is ideas.tempo.io. Maybe we can post it in the chat or something.
Yes, that's a good idea. I will post it in a chat, and we'll make sure to have it in the follow-up email as well.
Great.
Okay.
Maybe one thing I should add to that as well, if you post an idea there or vote for another idea that is going to be implemented or is not going to be implemented, you will be notified. And I think that is a huge advantage for you as a user to understand where our apps are going.
Yes. Awesome. Great. So a gadget related question. For some reason, maybe linked to migrating from cloud to server, most dashboard gadgets from Tempo Timesheets do not work at all. I don't know if you want to comment on that, though. I don't know if we want to take that separately.
I would, yeah. I would recommend reaching out to our technical support staff so they can look specifically into your use case. There might be something with the migration that happened, or some gadgets are not supported on cloud that we supported before on server. So I recommend reaching out to our support portal, and they will help you in a quickly manner.
Yep. Please, everyone, go ahead and add your questions. We will have time and try to get to as many of them as we can. Here's another one. Is there a way to prioritize items in the planner to put them into an order for the day? Interesting. So it's more a Tempo planner question.
Yeah, there is, if you are using the start and the end time functionality, actually. So it will, otherwise it will not prioritize the plans.
Okay, perfect. So here's a good one. What are the next exciting features in the pipeline for Tempo? Maybe you want to comment on some new or coming reports. You mentioned some already.
Yes,
there's more.
I'm a bit afraid of saying, but of course I'll give you some insights. But please, please respect that this is subject to change. This is software, so. Like I mentioned, we are working on a Tempo account approval, so more complex approvals than the timesheet approvals that we have today. We are also looking at more graphical representations in the reports, and for that we're looking more into next year to provide more features into the reports, but I'm not able to give you a specific estimated arrival time for these features. But hopefully sooner rather than later. And I can just tell you honestly that I've seen these features internally and they look great. It's just a matter of providing you with the best working software before we release it.
Yes, exactly. And maybe in addition to that, a big focus of ours is also trying to automate and make the time tracking itself even better, so that you can really roll it out to everyone within your organization and people can spend time on working on projects and not logging their time. And then you as can use the reports to inform your decisions for the business. But I do encourage everyone here to keep an eye out for some of the more automated features that we are working on. Those are definitely interesting as well. Okay, so for someone with a large instance, can we get a quick overview of all users and how much time they spend overall? Let's say if they have like over 100 projects.
Yes, by using the log time report, you can, the log time report will always show you all the workloads tracked within the instance over a period of time. You simply have to have the right permissions to view all of the Jira, sorry, I lost my English. So let me start again. So you can view hours across projects and users using the log time report. You can use the filtering to track or to list the projects that you would like to see, or use Jira filters also. And then you can simply group by the projects and the users and get a clear overview of all the users that have tracked time during the period that you would like to take a look at. But the users will not appear in the report unless they have logged time, because this is a log time report and it only shows work log data.
Okay, excellent. And maybe it's good to point out as well to the audience that we do have several integrations with some of our partners and other vendors in the ecosystem. And I think many of you are already familiar with how we're all one big family and that there's always a solution out there. But I don't know if you maybe have a comment, Thorun, on if somebody wants to look into integrating with more third-party apps to make the reporting even easier and even better.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are some apps on the marketplace that integrate with us. We also have public APIs available. So with those public APIs, you can build an integration with third-party system. A common question from the users that I meet is if we integrate with SAP or these big ERP system, and we do not have an integration or some kind of a module that you connect with. We basically provide the public APIs, and you can use those APIs to build your own connection.
Okay, so I think we have time for at least one more question, but if the audience still has questions, please add them. We might give you a little bit time back before we hit the top of the hour. But here's a question. How do you suggest we should track time for internal team calls or meetings?
Yeah, we have this functionality of internal issues, and you can find the settings under the Tempo settings. Here, what we recommend is that you create a Jira project called, for example, internal. Create Jira issues under that project that represents staff meetings or any of these internal issues or work that they need to track. And then you can use our functionality to convert those issues into internal. So it does not require remaining estimates. It's kind of like a bucket of, it will be a bucket of hours, and it's really easy for your users to find these Jira issues because they're under the default filter internal. And then you can go to the log time report and filter by that project and pull these internal hours quite quickly into the report.
Okay, excellent. That is all the questions that we have for now. So maybe Thorun, if you want to go on to the last slide.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So thank you all so much for joining today's session. Look out for a follow-up email with the slides and the recording. And in case you're curious about some of our other offerings, if you want to track your revenue, for example, in Cost Tracker or budgets, you can either check out for future webinars or some of our current resources for that. But if you have any further questions or you want to go through your specific use case, you can reach out to us directly at sales@tempo.io, of course, and you can also book a demo for your team on our website, and the sales rep will walk you through how you can solve your use case using the Tempo solutions. Well, that is all the time we have today. Thank you, Thorun, for walking us through the demo and the detailed information. Any final words before we close this session?
I just want to thank everyone that joined and listened to us. It was great hosting this webinar with you, Olaf, and I hope we do more of these.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the day and stay safe.